Dr. Cash, will you lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Please stand. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I'd like to remind the public that we do have Spanish language translation.
Sí, muy buenas noches y bienvenidos de parte de la Junta Educativa del Distrito Escolar Unificado de Santa Bárbara. Si hay alguien que necesita la ayuda de un intérprete, por favor levante la mano para darle un audífono. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have headsets for the hearing impaired, so if anybody needs that, please let us know. And we will start off with introductions, proclamations, presentations, and recognitions.
Thank you very much. We're very fortunate tonight to celebrate some of our fantastic students in our district. As you know, on Monday, January 16th, a number of our students were recognized at the Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration at the Arlington Theater. In addition to the awards given by the Anti-Defamation League, Just Communities Awards, one scholarship to an essayist among the high school-aged entries. The scholarship is awarded to a person that demonstrates a commitment to being or becoming a leader in efforts for greater justice. This year's Just Communities Scholarship will cover full tuition to the August 2012 Leadership Institute, and it went to a San Marcos High School student, Clay Gilmore, who is with us tonight, who will read to us in a little later, and we'll recognize her. We also have some young elementary school age students tonight as well, who won some awards that were recognized at the Arlington Theater. And in poetry, for ages 6 through 12, our third place recipient was Caroline Crannell from Roosevelt Elementary School. Will she please stand? And I believe it's Coraline. I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name. And she's here tonight with her parents, I believe, and her principal, Donna Ronzoni. So congratulations. Our second place winner from Goleta Valley Junior High School is Julia Holland. And I don't know if Julia's made it here this evening. No? Okay. And our first place winner is Madison Hogan, also from Roosevelt Elementary School, who will read her award-winning poem. So if you could come forward.
What Do You Stand For by Madison Hogan. What do I stand for? I stand for civil rights. I stand for equality. I stand for justice. I stand for peace. What do I stand for? I stand for civil rights. I stand for hope. I stand for emancipation. I stand for all races. What do I stand for? I stand for civil rights. I stand for an unbiased community. I stand for differences. I stand for all human beings, being black, white, Asian, African, Jewish, Catholic, no differences appear to me. We are all human beings. Now I could go on listing the things that I stand for. As you can see, there are many. But rather, I'd ask you a question. What do you stand for?
Thank you. And congratulations to all our award winners in the poetry division. In the essays division, ages 6 through 12, we had two third place winners. From La Cumbra Junior High School, Diego Carell, and from Washington Elementary School, Lucas Owens. Our second place winner from the Home-Based Partnership Santa Barbara Charter School is Milan McGrary. And our first place winner is from La Cumbra Junior High School, who is here this evening, Alondra Reyes. And Alondra, you're here with your mother, and also Joanne Keynes, the principal at La Cumbra Junior High School, is here as well. Alondra will be providing us a written copy of her essay, which we will then provide to board members and the public once we receive it. So congratulations, Alondra, for your great work. In the essays division of ages 13 to 18, we had, again, a third place winner. We're going to see a common theme here as far as the school, and I think we have our outstanding Santa Barbara County Teacher of the Year that's responsible for this. Third place from San Marcos High School, Emily Allen. Also, third place from San Marcos High School, Oliver Pillich. Second place from San Marcos High School, Daisy Altamirano. And first place, Evie Barbaro from San Marcos High School, who will read the essay. So could you come forward and read your essay?
When one hears the name Martin Luther King Jr., the powerful voice of a man fighting with words against racial prejudice, the phrase "I have a dream" and the civil rights movement come to mind. Although King was not the only influential civil rights activist, he was surely one of the main catalysts who truly enabled those being discriminated against to fight back without throwing a fist. King inspires me in many ways, including how he encouraged change using only words, inspired the people around him and people generations after him, and died as a man who never gave up despite the hardships he faced. Words are more powerful than any thrown fist when coming from the mouth of someone like Martin Luther King Jr. King's words changed the way thousands of people, white or black-skinned, thought and reacted to racial prejudice. Students who heard him silently fought the segregation rules forced upon them in schools and in everyday life, while adults used boycotts and received gratifying results. King led people to be the change they wanted to see in the world, such as Gandhi did. King's peaceful approach as an African-American civil rights activist is something I admire very much. He did not fight violence with violence, for two wrongs do not make a right, but rather fought with peace. In my own life, words are seen as tools used to create a voice for myself, whether they are published in a newspaper, read aloud to an audience, or simply given to someone as a gift. Since learning about King, however, I am inspired to use words in a different way. King has inspired me to use my words to give a voice to the countless silent people who need only a little encouragement in order to enable them to speak out for the change or recognition they desire. Dr. King is incredibly influential in our lives, even years after his death, which explains why he was such a prominent catalyst in the fight for African American rights during his time. King's strong integrity and sense of morality are two of the characteristics that make him such an inspirational figure. Although he was surrounded by violence, he never once counterattacked with violence. He did not focus his efforts and energy on destroying the enemy, but rather on what he wanted to achieve. Although Dr. King is usually recognized as a civil rights activist, he attempted to achieve much more than equal rights for blacks in America. By the time of his death, he was also delivering several speeches directed at helping the Third World and opposing the Vietnam War. He was a drum major for justice, a drum major for peace, a drum major for righteousness, as he once said. King's visions of a better society did not stop in America, but extended to all humanity, and he would never give up. Although King was hated by many, and violent reactions to protests were an ever-present fear, he never gave up. King's hope for an unprejudiced world never faltered, nor did his belief for equality for all, without exceptions. During his time as an activist, many of the protests he led ended in violence, and more than one innocent man, woman, or child was killed. This did not discourage him, but rather caused him to intensify his efforts, and he encouraged the oppressed citizens to continue fighting racism. King was a man of visions who would not relinquish them until they became reality. For example, during the Montgomery bus boycott, white city officials attempted to end it in every way possible. They even resorted to violence when they bombed King's home. Despite these attempts, however, the boycott went on, and as a reward for their persistence, buses became integrated. This is yet another way in which King inspires me. Persistence and determination are both qualities that I believe are essential in creating change, and Dr. King had them both. Martin Luther King Jr. lives on in our lives as someone who will always be remembered as a peaceful warrior whose words knocked down the barriers built of centuries of racism, prejudice and oppression, and carved a path for generations to come. His words encouraged change. He spent his lifetime helping humanity in a way that both inspired and amazed people, and he never relinquished something he believed in. Throughout my life, I hope to make a difference, even if only on a small level. The time is always right to do what is right, were the wise kings of Dr. King, and he speaks the truth. After all, he is the King of Words.
We have one more, our Just Communities Martin Luther King Scholarship winner, Claire Gilmore.
Every year, on the week of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, children across the nation study this powerful man in history. Our government even gives schools and employees an extra day off of school. But why? Martin Luther King Jr. inspires me, and many others, to be better citizens and more appreciative individuals. Being the natural-born leader he was, he displays the impacts one person can make on society. This charismatic man believed that every human, no matter what race, religion, or social rank, deserves equal rights. He fought to his last breath to make sure this dream could become a reality. King also proved that with perseverance, determination, anything is possible. This man made many astounding achievements in his life. He earned a doctorate degree, impressive, especially for an African American man in this time period, and graduated from Boston University. In college, a class of predominantly white students elected him as their president. Other accomplishments included Nobel Peace Prize, heroic and respected leader in the civil rights movement, a published author, and an accomplished speakmaker. Martin Luther King Jr. has inspired me to be a leader, to make a difference, and to achieve this by not giving up and fighting until the end. Martin Luther King Jr., MLK, has awakened an aspiration inside of me to be a leader in my community and to make a difference. Once he stated, "A genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus, but a molder of consensus." In this statement, MLK urged people not to strive to please everyone, but to take charge and make the change that is necessary. What made Dr. King such a historical and memorial leader is that the fact that he stood up for what he believed in, when others feared taking such an action. Although Martin Luther King Jr. led many protests, he always led in a peaceful, composed manner. He respected Gandhi's ideas of how to create awareness for an issue without violently disturbing other citizens. Another respectable characteristic of this man is that he never harmed any person in his protests. Along with teaching me leadership skills, Martin Luther King Jr. inspired me to persevere with determination and willpower. One of the first steps in the civil rights movement was the bus boycott. The goal of this boycott was to end segregations of blacks and whites in public buses. Martin Luther King Jr., with the help of Rosa Parks, led this protest. They never gave up during the 381 days that this protest lasted. They encouraged a large population to find other means of transportation other than public buses, until it was approved that segregation on buses was unconstitutional. This was just one example of how Martin Luther King Jr. kept his focus on the end result and pushed through hard times. Another example of his strong will was the fact that no matter how much harassment and hate he faced, he always continued through and brushed it off, because he knew he was doing the right thing. His house was bombed, he was arrested on multiple occasions, and endured a multitude of threats. He was a very strong-willed man and did not change his ways even after negative responses emerged. His story has inspired me on a very personal level. I will keep my head high and stay confident when something unkind is said to me. Although harassment towards Martin Luther King Jr. was much more harmful and on a greater scale than I will ever undergo, he has taught me that it does not matter what other people think, and it is as long as I believe in myself. After learning about the positive changes Dr. King made in many people's lives, I am inspired to do the same. I want to spark a smile on a once suffering face. Making people happy causes a sensation that everyone can benefit from. It brings a sense of self-importance and confidence. People in this world can get too involved with small, insignificant problems, when there are others who are suffering from verbal and physical abuse, starvation, unsanitary conditions, untreated diseases, and much more. Humans need to start being less selfish and lend a helping hand to those in need. For the past few years, I've been involved in an organization called Cupcakes for Cancer. This group's events raises money for the Teddy Bear Foundation, which benefits those who have cancer. People of all ages and all baking backgrounds donate their homemade cupcakes for sale. Martin Luther King Jr. would be very proud of events and organizations such as these. It is a reminder to all that there are ways to get involved and to help those who are suffering. Nothing is impossible. With perseverance and determination, we can do anything we set our minds to. I hope that Martin Luther King Jr. has affected others as he has affected me, because his story has enriched my life with inspiration to be a better individual. He has challenged my inner self to bring out the best in my personality and perspective on life. I now strive to help others every day, whether it is on a minor or global scale. Martin Luther King Jr. has impacted society enough to inspire people of all ages powerfully and on a personal level. We get a day off of school and work to honor this heroic and respected man in history. This man, Martin Luther King Jr., made a difference in our nation and was the catalyst to the freedom we have today. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank all the students for coming tonight and congratulate the parents and family members and members of our Santa Barbara Unified School District staff and family for doing such a great job with these wonderful children. It's not easy to get up and talk, and you all did just a wonderful job, so congratulations on that as well. Really, from the poem to the essays, great reminders of how we should live our lives. So thank you very much and congratulations. Couple of quick announcements I wanted to make is that we're very fortunate as a result of the Kirby Jones Foundation and a generous gift and working with the PTAs at San Marcos, Santa Barbara, and La Cuesta high schools. Those teachers are going to be able to have iPads for their own personal use, and we really want to thank them for that. Our Citizens Oversight Committees for Bond Measure Q 2010 and R 2010 have been meeting, and very soon you'll be seeing our first newsletter on each bond chronicle the exciting changes and challenges happening on our campus. And one of those is at San Marcos High School, where we have major construction work underway, as you're aware, where the B-Wing addition at San Marcos, which will house the San Marcos High School Health Academy, is really taking shape. And we're also very excited to know that now we can actually see where that wonderful new cafeteria at Santa Barbara High School is going to be and what it might look like as it's scheduled to be completed sometime in August. So we'll look forward to that. Open houses are going on right now, and the final 5 will take place in the weeks ahead. Santa Barbara Junior Highs is actually tomorrow night. Santa Barbara High School is this Thursday. La Cumbre Junior High is February 1st. Dos Pueblos is February 2nd, and La Cuesta is February 7th. And I'm really excited to tell you, starting this week, the second semester at our schools, we have 45 new students that are enrolled at our three of our comprehensive high schools and 2 junior highs that are learning Mandarin from the University of Beijing in an online educational program. And they join the over 100 7th graders that are already in the exploratory Chinese class at La Cumbre Junior High School. I want to also remind us that our GATE and Honors programs are alive and well. In fact, right now, in 6 minutes, at the Marjorie Luke Theater, the Johns Hopkins University Center for Talented Youth is conducting a presentation to provide information about the talent search that center engages in each and every year. And we're, of course, all the materials and the presentation are presented to our parents and our students in both English and Spanish. Speaking of Gate and Honors, we'll have another presentation to the Gate Honors District Advisory Council on February 4th from Dr. Michelle Borba, How to Raise Happy, Successful, Compassionate, and Ethical Kids. And finally, I think with Joanne here, I'd be in trouble if I didn't make this plug. On February 12th at La Cumbre Junior High School, a concert is being held, and they somehow got Los Lonely Boys to perform there. And congratulations to them, and if you don't have tickets, I think you better get them. It's going to be a great show benefiting our students and our community in Santa Barbara. So with that, that concludes our report.
Thank you, Dr. Cash. And thanks to all the students and parents and the teachers and staff that are here. I think tonight we were inspired by the words, and we'll take some of those words with us as we think of our work here on the school board. But thank you so much for those presentations and for all you do every day. Truly inspiring. And now I turn to my board for board comments and correspondence.
It's okay, you can leave while I'm talking. Get home to the homework, right. Get to bed early.
And I will remind all the students that you can see yourself this Saturday at 5 o'clock on Channel 18.
I just have one quick thing. I was fortunate in my role as grandfather to hear presentations by the 3 high schools on the pros and cons and benefits of 7th and 8th graders choosing one of our high schools. And I want to say all 3 high school presentations were extremely positive, beneficial, complete, and informative. It was an interesting experience.
And I'd like to add that this Saturday, along with 3 of our principals and staff from other campuses and Dr. Cash, I had the opportunity to attend the West Side Thrive Summit that took place. And so there were several of our students participating and presenting as well as family members that are associated with our schools. So it was a really neat opportunity to see some of the good work that's happening related to not just the schools, but really the community at large. So I was happy to be there. I also last week had the opportunity to attend the South Coast Task Force for Youth Gangs. And again, every time I attend, I'm so proud of the work that we're doing. And I look at Dr. Sumter here. Doctor, right? Yes. Sumter?
Sure.
Yeah. We're into honorary doctorates. We're into Mr. Sumter here for the work around discipline. Restorative justice was brought up several times, but also the work of our youth intervention specialists. And I was really happy to hear the chief of police talk about that particular role being one of the strongest components and strongest things that's come out of that particular task force. So I know that we had a tough discussion last week and maybe weren't thrilled with some of the numbers we saw, but as a balance, I think that there was a lot of multi-city, multi-jurisdictional recognition for the Santa Barbara Unified School District's attempt to solve and to work with some of our students that are more disenfranchised. So I wanted to add that. And with that, there is nothing to report from the closed session, and we will move on to any public comment.
We have no public comment at this time. I'm sorry, we have comments for later in the agenda. Okay? Thanks.
All right, and acceptance of donations.
Move to accept with gratitude.
Second? Oh.
All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and no one's opposed, motion carries. All right, and now we move to our consent agenda.
There is an item that should be pulled
Okay.
for not being considered. And that would be, I'm sorry, it's on the action agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Any items that we'd like to pull from the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we will now consider the action agenda, but for item E1, we will now close the open session of the board meeting and open the public hearing for the elementary and secondary education parcel tax resolutions for the Santa Barbara Unified School District. Are there any public comment?
Yes, there are two public comments on these. Brian Robinson, followed by Nancy Bertelson. Ms. Bertelson, you didn't indicate whether you wanted to speak on E1 or E2, but I'm assuming E1 would be appropriate? Okay, okay.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak. I'm Brian Robinson. I am the president of the Harding School Foundation. I'm also on the board of the Santa Barbara Education Foundation. I was a member of the Parcel Tax Oversight Committee, and now I'm a member and chair of the Bond Measure Parcel Tax Committee. But just speaking as a parent of two young kids in your elementary schools, I just want to support you in moving forward with the parcel tax. I'm excited that we'll be able to continue those programs that this supports. It's important. It's important to me as a parent. I think it's important to our community as a whole. So I just want to encourage you to marshal on. Thanks.
Ms. Bertelson?
Good evening. I live in Mission Canyon, and there we pay both parcel taxes. And I want to express to you that parcel taxes are unfair because often people own more than one parcel, and sometimes tiny parcels like 10 by 20 or 20 by 30 that are not used for any financial benefit to them, just for a buffer and breathable open space for the neighborhood. I have a senior neighbor who has 4 parcels, and he can opt out, but he has, now if you double it like you're proposing, he'll have to pay $600 instead of $800. He's a senior on fixed income. And I have 2 parcels, and my second parcel is 20 by 30, and I'm not benefiting from it, I'm just paying taxes on it. And my neighbor has an empty lot as well, and it's just sitting there, a nice open space with some trees on it. So it's and then there's many seniors in poorer parts of the country that bought in a long time ago for maybe spent $7,000 for their house or something, and they might have some extra parcels to pay. Plus, it's good they can opt out, but the very first year you had this H&I, there wasn't proper notification, and a lot of seniors didn't know didn't know the process for opting out, of having to go to this office before June to get the application and take it in to fill it out and take it in ahead of time of their taxes coming out. And a lot of people missed out for that reason. And seniors' income don't go up, plus a lot of them are older and don't really understand these complicated matters. I know that from talking to some. So I'm against the parcel taxes, and I was really shocked to see in the paper you're thinking about doubling them, because even though a senior can opt out, they can only opt out of one parcel. And as I say, I would have to pay $200. I opt out of one parcel now, so I have to pay $50 instead of $100. You double it, I'll have to pay $100 instead of $200. So right now, because we're paying for both parcels, that's $500 something.
I have no idea.
And so I'm paying for the parcel that I'm opting out of. I pay more for the parcel tax than the tax that's due on it, because it's just 20 by 30 of undeveloped, unused land. So I'm just saying, I think it was really, it's really not wise of you either, because I don't think it's going to pass when you double tax like that. So if you want to continue the parcel tax, it should be thought out to be better.
10 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for that feedback. We will note that it's important to make sure that any senior citizen's aware of the opt-out process. And I don't know that I know the answer to whether you can opt out of one or both, but that would probably be important to know as we move.
Primary
Just
residence.
one. Okay. All right. With no further comments, I will close the public hearing. And now we move on to the agenda item E2, approve of the elementary and secondary education parcel tax resolutions for the Santa Barbara Unified School District.
This matter is before you. Hopefully the resolutions, the measures reflect the thinking at the last board meeting and workshop. And I don't know that I have anything to add, but would be happy to answer any questions.
All right. I look over to the board. Any questions or public comment?
Yes, Mr. Robinson, you had indicated that you wanted to speak on both items? No? Okay. And Ms. Bertelson, did you want to speak again on this next item, or was that sufficient? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Then there's no further public comment.
Any board comment or questions?
I guess I'll start
Ms.
with a quick question and a comment also. I appreciated the speaker talking about parcel taxes and how they can seem unfair because it's just a set amount of money per parcel, and I absolutely agree. And I wish that that's not the law. That's the only way that we can raise program funding is through a parcel tax mechanism. So I think that's too bad. I would love that to change at the state level, and a few other things about that to change at the state level. I really I know that our students have benefited tremendously from the existing parcel tax. Very happy to move forward to give this back to the community to as Mr. Godby say, have a conversation around this and a vote. One of my questions is, I know that we have to notify the county by next week,
February 2nd.
February 2nd, with the formal notice of the parcel tax election, with the exact language for the ballot at that point. Is that also when we have to have the resolution language in, or is that a different date?
February, I believe it's February 19th.
February 19th. So if we were to vote and move forward with the ballot language, we could still play a little bit with the resolution language if
Yes.
there was input on that over the next couple of weeks. My other question is, when is the ballot, when are the arguments due?
Well, I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's February 2nd. The
Yep.
resolution and the ballot language is due.
Okay,
That was
so that's,
changed.
okay.
That's
So
set in stone.
that's set in stone. So what about when
It's
is
February 19th when the arguments.
arguments? So that's
Yes.
coming right up also.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Herron?
A couple of things. One, throughout these documents, we use the word enhancing. Do we have a definition of what enhancing means, just so we know
To make better
from what? From what?
from where it was prior to the 2008 parcel tax.
Okay. Somewhere in here, I think it spells out that $1 fee that we have to pay to the county. Can you tell us exactly why that is? It is, and who gets that $1, and what they use it for?
Thank.
That's an admin fee for the county to process.
Emphasize for the county?
It is for the county auditor treasurer's office for the $1 admin fee. So the district will receive 53.
I'll just add, I do also have some minor concerns about the amount, but I think it's appropriate. We need it, but I do have some minor concerns.
Ms. Cordero?
Well, I don't have a lot to say on this, other than that I think that we are in a situation right now in the state with the way the budgets have been really devastating the public education, especially K-12, in this state, that we are in a situation where I think we are having to look for alternatives that we can have a little bit more control over, because we are in the process of having to make decisions for next year without really knowing that the climate could change dramatically depending on what the outcome of the election in November is. We have to make plans that where we know that we do not have all the information we need and that we're not going to get it until we're already into the school year. So I think as much as partial taxes can be difficult for some people, I think this is the climate we are in order to provide our students with the quality education that they deserve and the quality education that we know most of the community wants them to have. I think this is the way we need to go. So I'm willing to support it.
And I will echo what my colleagues have said. I think that no one wants to see us have to go to the community to ask for a tax, but I also think that it's an investment. It's an investment in keeping some priorities for this district, for the students and for the schools that unfortunately are priorities that are not always the state's priorities. And I think that it's our ability to use local money invested in our students without it having to go to the state to determine how to use it. And I think in the day and age where we're seeing our state resources cut, we're all worried about what will happen in November. This is unfortunately something that we're left to consider given what we have to deal with in the state. So I echo my colleagues. And with that,
I'll just say thank you for all the hard work on the revisions, because it looked like you captured everything that we talked about. So I'll move to approve the elementary and secondary education parcel tax resolutions for the Santa Barbara Unified School District and approve the placement of the parcel tax measures on the June 2012 election ballot.
Second?
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, and now we move to E3, adoption of resolution proclaiming concurrence with the Santa Barbara County Board of Education Statement of Conscientious.
This came out of the Santa Barbara County Education Office Board, a real, I think, reflective statement regarding the state of education and the need for our state to step up to the plate and remember an investment in children is an investment in ourselves and an investment in the future. And it's placed before you with your opportunity to concur with the County Board of Education's statement of conscience about their belief that public schools in our state need to be supported at a level that's commensurate with our need. And so it's before you for discussion and possible concurrence. I think it would, if the board felt so, would send a loud message, not just from the county, but from the Santa Barbara Unified School District about the value of our public schools.
All right. Board, any comments or questions?
I just wanted to say that I think I applaud the county for adopting this statement of conscience. I think it is sort of incumbent on all of our consciences to speak out in support of public education and in concern over how the state has been damaging our public education for the last several years. I think we all know that the economy in general is in bad shape. I'm not, I don't want to necessarily criticize any of our legislators, but I do want to reiterate, and I think we can do that by adopting this resolution, our commitment to public education and to what it represents for our community and really for our entire state and by extension our country. If we continue to whittle away at what has been one of the cornerstones, I think, of California sort of standing within the country and the United States standing within the world, we will definitely regret it. And we're already at the point where we're seeing many, many declines. I just feel like we have to make hard choices, but this definitely needs to be a priority. So I applaud their statement, and I hope that we will support it.
Thank you. Mr. Herron?
Yes, I agree totally. Just in the short time that I've been on the board, we've cut $30 million. I think 30, maybe even more. But imagine $30 million in 3 to 4 years. It can't help but hurt our children, and something's not right with the state government in helping us help our children. So I think we need to support this. Yes, I do.
I absolutely agree as well, and kudos to Bill Cerrone, which I want to say Dr. Cerrone, but now I'm frightened to say Dr. anybody. But and to the County Board of Education, those board members, I know
Yes.
they worked really hard and talked a lot about this, and I think they've done a really great job. So.
And I too support it, and I think it also sends a very important message to our community that we're in really tough times, and at the end of the day, it's our future students, community members, employees, business owners that are unfortunately going to feel the negative impact of what's been happening. So with that, yes, Mr. Herron?
I will move the adoption of resolution number 2011-2012-34, proclaiming concurrence with the Santa Barbara County Board of Education's Statement of Conscience.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam President, we'd like to remove item E4 and bring back something else for the board's consideration at a later board meeting.
All right, so that will be noted. Item E4 is removed. And moving on to E5, approval of purchase of Aventa online credit recovery program, and I think
Okay,
Dr.
I'm going to bring up Dr. Cynthia White, and I do want to note that you all, board members, you have a revised version on your on the dais there. The way this program was presented, it came in blocks of credit, and it was a little confusing, so we noticed right away, oh, it's for 200 licenses, which is a $40,000 cost. I want to note that we have been using some online recovery programs in the past individually at our schools, but never as a district have we come together, and Dr. White's going to explain the process a bit, how this came about, how the selection of Aventa came. But I do want to commend her on, getting the schools together, and the schools also in being able to offer our students this. We're jumping in the 21st century here, finally, in more ways than this, but this is just one step. And I think it's such a statement that we care so much about our students, those maybe in the first couple of years of high school that have a rough start and get behind, as well as our seniors who are really struggling to graduate. And so I'm really excited about being able to offer this to our students. So I'll have Dr. White explain the process and the agreement here.
Well, I have to say it's a little hard to follow that and not just say ask for approval, but Robin's correct. We used to offer our online credit recovery individually as schools, and by bundling a program together, we save money. And so that's one of the reasons that we've looked at online credit recovery as a group. It is a creative and flexible way for our students to recover credits. It's considered by the companies as a guided independent study. And we started looking at credit recovery at the recommendation of Dr. Cash, who had had great success with this in his prior district. And so we've looked at a number of companies as a group. The high schools and junior high schools participated in it. Different people came on and off the committee as it became important for a counselor to come on and see how the program would work versus an assistant principal. And basically, what we came up with was Aventa. And the reason we came up with the Aventa as our top choice is Nia Voss at Dos Pueblos did quite a bit of research, and this was one that she was quite interested in looking at. And in comparison with the other programs that we looked at, this had a sleeker interface, more modern, more 2011. Some of them look very 1990s. And also it had supports for English learners. So on the backside of all of the instruction is vocabulary. And vocabulary can be just a simple translation, but this is not. This has examples and definitions. And so a student who needs support in their language can go just on click flip side, and not only is it in Spanish, but there's an audio piece where they can hear it in English, hear it in Spanish. And one of my favorite researchers, Dr. Kinsella, says if you can't say it, then you won't be able to learn it. So we were very impressed with the supports for English learners. In addition, Aventa has 24/7 online support, and that was very important to us. While a student is doing curricula, they have access to a video demonstration, but they also have a teacher assigned to them, and that teacher has office hours. So if it's a specific content area question, they can call the teacher, Skype into the teacher, email the teacher, chat with the teacher, blog with the teacher. The teacher could set up a wiki space for them to support them. It's very 21st century. So that was also something that we found to be very important. And then the 24/7 support, just a teacher if it's a navigation issue or if it's something that a teacher could support them with. All the teachers on Aventa they have a California version, so those teachers are California, highly qualified, credentialed. Aventa does, you have the product across the nation, but California, they have a specific California version. And so all of our students would be supported by California credentialed teachers. We're very excited about this. This, at 200 licenses, will provide sufficient credit recovery for each of the high schools. We had a call with the company to talk about what does it really look like, and each one of the high schools has a plan for how they're going to support students at school, as well as they'll get the support that they would get through this guided independent study offering. In terms of credit recovery, what's happened in the past, of course, we've offered summer school as credit recovery. Some students need more than that. 2 years ago, and for about 10 years before that, credit recovery, Santa Barbara City College, Adult Education offered credit recovery on our campuses. When they went through their WASC accreditation, that was not acceptable because it was not sufficient hours and they were looking for completers. Santa Barbara City College Adult Education still offers credit recovery. They have 6-week blocks of credit recovery at the Schott Center, and those run from about 3:15 to 6:30 p.m. 5 days a week. So students would be in class 5 days a week. The type of credit recovery that Aventa offers, generally speaking, a student can go through I was very surprised today to learn that it's 6 weeks to complete a course because they can pre-test out of sections that they already know. So it's fast-tracked, and it's very successful in many parts of our state, and I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to start in the next, because once we get an answer from you, they can get us up and running in 72 hours.
All right, thank you, Dr. White. Board, any comments or questions?
Question just popped in my head. How do we know that the student online is really the student that needs the credit recovery?
Basically, the credit recovery would be monitored by an administrator and a counselor. So the students would have an orientation. Generally speaking, what they recommend is that there's a large orientation for students who do need credit recovery. And so that they would have a mentor, if you will, someone that would be watching over them, and that mentor would receive every Monday progress report on their progress online.
You just mentioned that they can take a test and opt out of.
Yes.
How do you know that the person who takes the test to opt out is the student that needs the recovery and not a student who is a brain doing it on the side for profit?
I'm sorry, misunderstood your question. Well, each one of the high schools is going to offer this 5 days a week on their campus. So really there's an oversight as well. So it's just going to be a kind of an adjunct part of their already existing tutorial centers. So there's going to be somebody that, and I think that there are a lot of checks and balances within the system in terms of passwording and completion of the material, that it would be pretty clear down the line if they're fast tracking through and the mentor and the counselor and the administrator know who the student is and know that this is not possible. I think there's checks and balances on that. I'm not concerned about that, actually.
I just had a quick question, and that was, given that in the past, the 3 different high schools had their different credit recovery programs, do any of them feel that they are going to be giving up anything by moving to Aventa? Is there anything that their previous programs provided or allowed for that are not included in Aventa?
I would say no to that because those programs were also considered.
Okay.
So this was a unanimous decision. Once we saw Aventa, it was hands down, wow, this is different. This is really going to meet the needs of all of our students.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and I have a question about what it actually looks like. I think Mr. Herron was alluding to it a little bit, but I mean, is this offered 5 periods, 6 periods? Is this in a classroom? Does a student go to the library and check in with someone? I'm trying to visualize what it looks like, and is there a staff member in the classroom I'm trying to figure out what does it look like, or do they do it at home? I don't.
There's a lot of different options, and some students in a guided independent study won't need much guidance. And so the mentor and administrator is going to oversee the progress of the student because the material is chunked out so that it's one session would be one class period. So you're looking for completion rates on par with where the student should be. And it's the reporting systems are amazing. It's at a glance. You can see who's on track, who's not on track. At Santa Barbara High School, they already have a study hall tutorial center, and it's in the library. So basically, they're just going to have the credit recovery in the library also. And so the person that's overseeing the tutorial center will also oversee those students. At Dos Pueblos, they're also looking at putting it in the library. And San Marcos is still in progress, if you will. They have a couple of places that they can put it, but it will be pretty much, there will be a person at school, 7th period or 0 period, overseeing this.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Cordero?
I just have a follow-up question to that. Is this different than, it's a setup or the way that the student would do it, different from what would normally be an online class? Because what I'm wondering is, first of all, you mentioned that there's assistance 24/7.
Right.
Which would seem unnecessary if the student is only going to be doing it during school hours. But if it's a regular, kind of like a regular online course,
right,
it would seem to me that once the student has created their enrollment in the program, then they would have access to it at whatever time they wanted to do it. So,
correct,
if they wanted to access their course profile at home at 10 o'clock at night, they could.
Yes, they can.
Okay, so they will have access to all of this outside of the scheduled time as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
If I may, this is the kind of the typical scenario that this may address is a student who just finished right now the first semester of 9th grade, passing one class, and then may finish their second semester again passing one class, And in our current system, that student would never graduate from high school in 4 years. And so by providing an opportunity for students to go at their own speed and take advantage of maybe a newfound maturity, that we will allow them to graduate, or they'll make the effort to graduate. This isn't for every student. It's really an opportunity for students to learn what they need to learn and graduate on time.
Okay. And I have one more question. Do we have an estimate of the number of students that will be taking advantage, at least of the first-year license?
What Aventa's said to us is that most licenses are used annually 3 times. So once you get good at this, if you will, it's management on our side as well. It's 4 times per year.
And we have 200, so the max, we'd see 800, but starting out, we might not see that many.
We might
students.
not see that many. I mean, we're starting second semester, and the beauty of that is then we're going to roll right into summer school. So students can take advantage of that during the summer as well. And I think by the end of the summer, we'll be experts, and, you know, it's going to go into first semester, and I think we'll have it wired by that point. So the average is 3 to 4 times each license.
Okay, all right, thank you. Mr. Heron?
Yes, I received a letter from Lane Wheeler, President of Teachers
Yes.
Association. Have his questions all been answered? I don't see him here tonight.
Yes, they have.
They have, so we have, he's okay with the answers and,
Well, he never responded to me.
Okay,
But
but-
we've answered every one of his questions.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, board, any other questions or comments?
No, I'll move to approve the purchase of the Aventa Online Credit Recovery Program.
Second?
With no further discussions, all those.
well,
Oh,
I think we should mention the 40,000 since the agenda says 20.
yes.
And I think the motion should include the change to 40,000.
All right, I will go ahead and include that the fiscal impact is $40,000 from the Pupil Retention Block Grant Funds and Title II funds.
I maintain my second.
All right, so all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, so moving on to board action on student discipline case.
In case 11/12-12, I move to approve the findings and recommendations of the hearing panel for a suspended expulsion.
Second?
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right, and now we are on to our conference agenda. And we will have the District English Language Learner Advisory Committee report. And so, I don't know if Señor Martinez or anybody would like to come up.
Yes, Senor Martinez?
Señor, bienvenido.
Yes, I was about to say that.
Hello, I'm Ina Thorlason, I'm the translator. No, no, it's fine.
Okay. Gracias, buenas noches.
Thank you and good evening,
Doctor Cash,
Dr. Kash,
Presidenta ICONS, miembros de la mesa directiva, muchas gracias.
members
Doctora
of the
White
board,
también,
and also Dr.
y todos los
White,
presentes. Muy
and
buenas
everybody
noches.
present. Good evening.
Gracias por esta oportunidad para representar nuevamente mi reporte.
Thank you for this opportunity to present, submit again my report.
Como presidente del DILAC del año 2010-2011
As president of DLAC for 2010,
Yeah.
2011,
y actualmente vicepresidente de DILAC 2011-2012.
and now I'm the vice president for DLAC 2011 to 12,
Es muy importante para nosotros.
2012.
Es muy importante para nosotros
It's very important for us
continuar con el trabajo que estamos haciendo.
to continue with the work we're doing.
Y lo que queremos lograr es dar el siguiente paso
What we want to do is to give this next step
y continuar trabajando juntos con el distrito escolar.
and continue working along with the school district.
Primero quiero mencionar algunos logros que se hicieron en este 2010-2011.
First, I want to mention some achievements that we obtained in 2011.
Sí. Y el logro académico se levantó por todo el distrito de manera impresionante en algunas escuelas.
The academic achievement is rising throughout this district and dramatically in some of the schools.
Más escuelas reportaron incremento de la participación de padres.
More schools reported increase in parental involvement.
Y la que en las escuelas comenzó a trabajar más en comparación con otros años también.
Also, the ELACs at the schools started working more efficiently than in previous years.
Esto es que se ha estado cumpliendo con todos los requerimientos del Estado.
That is because we are complying with all the state regulations.
Se ha incrementado el esfuerzo por hacer llegar a los padres la información en su idioma también, en los dos idiomas.
There has been an improvement in the efforts to provide the parents with information in both languages, in their language, but in both languages.
Hubo un aumento significativo en la reclasificación de alumnos también, debido a la mejora de los logros académicos.
There was also a significant increase in number of students that were reclassified as a result of improved academic achievement.
Esto en resultado a las estrategias que el distrito escolar ha implementado, que han sido muy acertadas y resultado en cambios muy significativos para las escuelas.
The strategies that the district has implemented have been very successful and have resulted in positive changes for schools.
Y también queremos reconocer el nuevo puesto que se hizo en ese año de TOSA con Katia Rodríguez, que fue muy acertado para nosotros.
And also to point out that the new position of TOSA was very positive for us.
Y la celebración fue muy exitosa, con 200 personas asistiendo y 15 escuelas representadas.
And also the All ELAC celebration was very successful with 200 people attending and 15 schools represented.
Ahora nuestras recomendaciones las dividí en tres. Son recomendaciones en general.
I have some recommendations that I divided into 3 groups, and they are general recommendations.
Recomendaciones para mejorar mejores comités ELAC.
Recommendations to improve better ELAC committees.
Y recomendaciones para mayor involucramiento de padres también.
And also recommendations for more involvement on parents.
El ciclo escolar 2011-2012 debemos de tener todas las escuelas trabajando con un comité ELAC ejecutivo y utilizando el manual que se ha desarrollado por DILAC en años anteriores.
By the school year 2011-2012, all schools should be working with the ELAC committee and using the manual developed by DILAC.
En este punto lo que quiero decir es que sí tenemos ELAC en todas las escuelas.
What I want to say now that is that we do have ELAC in all the schools.
Pero creo que debemos incrementar el esfuerzo.
But I think we have to increase the effort.
Porque hay algunas escuelas que en realidad el comité ejecutivo no está trabajando. No hay un comité ejecutivo en realidad.
But we need to work further because some of the schools don't have an executive committee actually.
Se está haciendo el esfuerzo, pero me gustaría que se hiciera, el distrito checara también este punto.
We're making the effort and I'm working towards that, but I would like the district to make an effort towards that.
Como decimos, como están nuestras, el comité ejecutivo ELAC debe estar formado por no menos del 51% de padres con estudiantes servidos por los programas ELs. Y el presidente del comité ejecutivo ELAC debe ser de un padre con estudiante servido por los programas ELs.
Okay, so the ELAC executive committee should consist of no less than 51% of parents of students served by EL programs. The chair of the ELAC executive committee must be a parent of a student served by the EL program.
Okay. Otro punto es continuar con el proceso de entrenamiento a los comités ejecutivo ELAC de cada escuela.
Another point would be to continue the training process for ELAC executive committees of each school and advanced training for administrators.
Se recomienda que al finalizar el ciclo escolar 2011-2012 todas las escuelas hayan recibido el entrenamiento.
And it's recommended that by the end of the 2011-2012 school year that all the schools have received the ELAC training.
Este ciclo escolar pues terminó, estamos en el 2011-2012 y lo que quiero enfatizar en este punto es
that cycle has already ended. We are already in 11-12, and what I want to point out is
que una vez concluido este entrenamiento
that once completed this training,
debe darse seguimiento,
there should be a follow-up
revisarlo y mejorar el proceso.
to improve, to review and improve the process.
Es como todos los ciclos. No es solamente hacer el entrenamiento en las escuelas y ya se terminó, se cumplió.
It's like every cycle. It's not only doing training in the schools and then it's over.
Este era un paso necesario,
This was a necessary step,
pero todos los años tenemos comités ILACs nuevos.
But every year we have new ELAC committees.
Y lo que este comité de ILAC ha hablado es que no queremos ILAC aprendiendo, comités ejecutivos aprendiendo. Debemos de tener comités ILAC ejecutivos preparados para que puedan recomendar a la escuela, al distrito escolar.
And what the DLAC committee
Tenem-
recommended is that we don't want those ELAC committees learning every year, new ones every year. We want ELAC committees are already trained and that I can follow through.
Es por eso que debe hacer un mejoramiento y continuar haciendo el proceso y mejorarlo cada vez.
That's why there is a need for improvement of the process and continue the process and the improvement.
Es decir, la recomendación es
So the recommendation is
que este entrenamiento debe ser constante y permanente.
that this training needs to be ongoing and permanent.
Desarrollar una estrategia que garantice que cada escuela tenga un representante del comité ejecutivo ILAC en las reuniones de DILAC.
To develop a strategy that ensures that each school has a representative from its ELAC executive committee present at the DLAC meetings.
Y en este punto quiero agradecer al Dr. Cash, la primera vez que hablé con él,
And here I want to mention that the first time I talked to Dr. Cash,
mencioné que era importante que todas las escuelas se hicieran responsables de tener un miembro en las DILAC.
I mentioned that it was important that each school had a representative at the DLAC.
Y él tomó acción inmediata y tenemos ahora mayor presencia de padres de
And
las escuelas
he
en
took
DILAC.
immediate action, and now we have more representatives from the schools, more parents.
Y creo que debemos seguir así también.
And I also think that we need to continue like this.
DILAC tiene ordenanzas y cada vez que se propone un cambio debe ser consultado el comité ejecutivo de DILAC.
Okay, no lo tengo eso. Oh, sí, DLAC has some bylaws, and we have to be, have to ensure that DLAC, whenever there is a change proposed,
Como son fechas de reunión, observar el acta green, desarrollo de planes, en general cualquier cambio.
a ver que no tengo eso un momentito.
Que puede traducir.
¿Cuál es esta? Sure?
Okay, yeah,
¿Esta?
yeah,
So
yeah,
ensure that DLAC has bylaws, and whenever a change is proposed, that the DLAC Executive Committee be consulted, included the setting of meeting dates, observing the Green Act, the developing and implementing of plans for EL programs, Title III and LEAP.
Cuando el distrito escolar formule sus planes para servir a los alumnos y él, debe consultar a los padres, líderes de comunidad y comité ejecutivo DILAC.
When the school district makes plans to serve ELL students, it should consult with parents, community leaders, and the DLAC Executive Committee.
Okay. Para lograr una mejor capacitación de los miembros y poder cumplir con los mandatos, debemos añadir una reunión en marzo a las reuniones de oficiales de DILAC y las ordenanzas deben ser revisadas y modificadas para continuar mejorando el proceso.
For the better training of members and to comply with the mandates, we should add a meeting in March to the DLAC regular meetings, and the bylaws should be reviewed and modified to further improve the process.
En este punto, quiero decir que ya se está trabajando en eso.
Here I want to say that we're already working towards that.
La doctora White y Katia Rodríguez están trabajando con nosotros en eso.
Dr. White and Katia Rodriguez are already working with us on that.
Se los hemos mencionado.
We have already mentioned that to them.
Y nuestra recomendación es de que, debería de haber más reuniones porque
And our recommendation is that there should be more meetings,
esto tiene que ver con los entrenamientos también,
because this also has to do with the training,
con el papel de los comités ILAC y DILAC,
with the role of the ELAC and DLAC committees.
que debe ser el de consultantes y recomendar a ustedes.
That it should be advisory and to give recommendations.
Y lo que creemos es que es demasiada información
And what we think is there's too much information,
y se necesita tener más reuniones.
and we need to have more meetings.
Es como ustedes.
It's like you.
¿Qué pasaría si ustedes tuvieran nada más 3 o 4 reuniones al año?
What would happen if you had only 3 or 4 meetings a year?
Sé que no es lo mismo, pero es importante que también se revise este punto.
I know it's not the same, but I think that it's important to review this point.
Se debe continuar con el soporte para la traducción de todos los documentos que sean enviados a los padres,
Continue to support the translation of all documents sent to parents,
lo cual también es gracias porque más padres reciben más información
and for that, thank you, because more parents receive the information
en su idioma, en los dos idiomas.
in their language or in both languages.
El plan singular debe ser revisado por los comités ILAC y padres de familia en inglés y español para que estos puedan aconsejar a las escuelas antes de que este sea entregado y firmado por el distrito escolar.
The single plan must be reviewed by the ELAC executive committees and parents in English and Spanish so they can advise their school before the single plan is turned in to the school district.
Y esto es también importante porque es donde los padres aprendices de inglés pueden participar y recomendar a ustedes.
¿Los padres qué?
Y los padres aprendices de inglés pueden recomendarles a ellos.
This is important too because the parents of the children learning English can also advise and give recommendations to you.
Okay. En nuestras recomendaciones para desarrollar mejores comités ILAC,
In our recommendations for developing better ELAC committees,
los comités ILAC deben ser tratados como consultantes y darles las herramientas necesarias para que puedan hacer su trabajo.
the ELAC committees should be treated as consultants and given the tools needed by them to do their job.
Una meta que en lo personal he tenido en estos años que he trabajado como voluntario
Personally, a goal that I've had these years when I have been working as a volunteer
es que es una persona para que pueda recomendar y consultar tiene que estar informada y estar preparada.
for a person to be able to give advice and serve as a consultant needs to be well informed.
Así que muchos comités ILAC no tienen la información necesaria, no por el distrito. Hace falta hacer un mayor esfuerzo en esto también.
Many of the ELAC committees don't have all the proper information and that we need to make an effort towards that.
Para que los comités ILAC estén más preparados.
So the ELAC committees are better prepared.
Los miembros del comité ejecutivo de ILAC y los presidentes o representantes de los comités ejecutivos ILAC de las escuelas
Lo tengo aquí.
deben recibir un curso de cómo trabajar y encontrar toda la información necesaria en el web del distrito.
The members of the DLAC Executive Committee, ELAC chairs, and DLAC representatives from the school's ELAC executive committees should receive a special training on how to fulfill their responsibilities and how to locate all the necessary information on the district website.
Este punto lo tengo porque en estos años también he visto muchos padres que no saben dónde encontrar la información.
This is also because in all these years I have found parents who don't know where to find information.
Muchos comités ILAC también no tienen la información, no saben dónde encontrarla.
Many of the ELAC committees don't know where to find information.
Y creo que esto es parte del trabajo también de DILAC y de ILAC.
And I think that this is part of the DLAC.
Sí, pero necesitamos el apoyo del distrito escolar también en esto.
But on this, we also need the support from the school district.
En desarrollar una estrategia también para que estos comités tengan acceso y sepan dónde está toda esa información y esté disponible.
To develop some strategies so the ELAC committees and the ELAC committees know where to find the information they need.
Y que estoy hablando de temas como CASE, el CST, Title III, ALIP, el LIP, Plan Singular y
So the school district should provide training to ELAC representatives about how and where to find all the necessary information for topics like as, I don't know if you read all this, KC, do you read them? KC and Title III, LEP, etc.
Yeah, it's for example, yeah. Recomendaciones para involucramiento de los padres.
Okay, now some recommendations for parent involvement.
Una recomendación es que debemos promover nuestras reuniones de DILAC y las de las escuelas de los comités ILAC en los medios como una estrategia para el involucramiento de los padres en las escuelas.
Okay, we must promote our DLAC meetings and school ELAC committees in the media as a strategy for parental involvement in schools.
Y yo creo que debemos tener muchas estrategias para involucrar más padres.
I think that we need to have many strategies to involve more parents.
Y una de ellas también es que podamos promover en los medios estas juntas y lo que está sucediendo en el distrito.
And one of them is to be able to use the media to inform everybody about what is happening at the schools and ELAC and the district.
Esto nos ha funcionado en otros comités, en otros, en el SBCC, por ejemplo, y en otros lugares.
This has worked in other places like with Santa Barbara City College and other places.
Okay. Debe existir una colaboración estrecha entre el distrito escolar y organizaciones reconocidas como Padres Unidos, Parent Project, Just Communities, incluso SBCC, Future Leaders of America. Esto funcionará como una estrategia para involucrar a más padres en las escuelas a través de los diferentes programas que estas organizaciones ofrecen.
There should be close collaboration between the school district and recognized organizations such as United Parents, Parent Project, Just Communities, SBCC, Student Council, Future Leaders of America. These will serve as a strategy to involve more parents in schools through various programs that these organizations offer.
Sé que hay muchos recortes presupuestales en las escuelas
I know the schools have a lot of budget projects,
y
proposals.
sé que es muy complicado a veces para el distrito tener a toda la gente trabajando en las escuelas en todos estos temas.
And I know that it's very difficult for the district to have all these people working in the schools on these matters.
Yo he trabajado personalmente con algunas otras organizaciones
I personally have worked with other organizations,
y ustedes también saben que hay organizaciones que han estado colaborando con las escuelas,
and you also know that there are other organizations that have been cooperating or collaborating with the schools,
como por ejemplo en los entrenamientos a Padres Unidos,
like in the trainings for United Parents.
sí, que ellos han estado dando los entrenamientos por iniciativa
They have had the initiative of providing the training
para continuar con este proceso.
to continue with this process.
Y este año yo sé que ahorita están parados los entrenamientos,
And this year I know the trainings are paid,
pero creo que es importante que le demos continuidad lo más pronto posible.
but I think that it's important to give continuity as soon as possible.
Es decir, que cada año tenemos que avanzar y ese es el punto de nosotros.
What I mean is that every year we need to progress, and that's our goal.
Los cambios que se han logrado y que se quieren seguir logrando
The changes that we have already got and the ones that we want
deben continuar y no solamente ya pasó este año y ya se quedó ahí y luego un nuevo comité y nuevas
must to
cosas.
continue, and not like the ones that were done, finished, and then we have to move on with new ones.
Sí, nuestro objetivo es avanzar y trabajar con ustedes.
And our goal or our objective is to work with you, progress and work with you.
Un último punto que tengo aquí, the last point es una sugerencia que tengo. Se sugiere que cada director de escuelas se pueda comunicar con los padres, por ejemplo, del PTA, para considerar la posibilidad de formar comités de equidad y excelencia. Un ejemplo que yo he visto que ha funcionado mucho es en la Escuela Dos Pueblos.
It is suggested that each school principal contact the parents of their PTA to consider the possibility of forming a committee of equity and excellence in education in a manner similar to the Dos Pueblos High School.
A mi punto de vista es un modelo que debería observarse.
To me, that's a model that we could follow.
Yo estoy trabajando con otras escuelas
I'm working with other schools,
y seguimos teniendo juntas separadas de padres latinos
and we
y
have separate meetings for
padres americanos
Latino parents and American parents.
y no tienen la misma información.
And they don't have the same information.
Así que en escuelas donde está trabajando el PTA o PTO con los ILAC
So in the schools where the PTAs or PTOs are working with the ELAC,
y tienen comités trabajando
and
juntos,
they have committees that work together,
esto está funcionando mejor y está dándoles mejores resultados.
it's working better and giving better results.
Y sería un punto también que requerimos el apoyo de ustedes, que lo consideren.
That's also an item that we request your
Tal vez que lo
support.
tal vez que lo puedan ver y sería una estrategia también que funcionaría en todas las escuelas.
Maybe something that you can see that it will be a strategy that would work in all the schools.
Y por último,
Finally,
algunos puntos que queremos agregar en nuestras reuniones
some other items that we want to include in our meetings
es, como mencioné, los entrenamientos,
is, as I said, about trainings,
entrenamientos de Title I, Title III,
training for Title I, Title III,
análisis de datos de rendimientos escolares,
analysis of school performance data,
Consolidation Application Parte 2,
Part 2,
asesoramiento de necesidades,
needs assessment,
asesoramiento de necesidades, revisar los resultados y revisar el plan y el cuestionario,
for the needs assessment to do a review of the results and review of the plan and questionnaire,
el proceso de reclasificación de alumnos, que ya también lo hemos visto,
the English learner reclassification process, which we have already seen,
revisar y comentar sobre las notificaciones escritas de los padres y tutores de familia
review and comment on the written notification to parents and guardians,
y Consolidation Application Parte 1 también. Para concluir, pues quiero agradecerles el apoyo y me gustaría que pudieran considerar estos puntos.
And to finish, I'd like to thank you for your support and consider, perdón, ¿qué dices?
Y gracias por considerar los
Thank you
puntos.
for considering all these items.
¿Alguna pregunta? Muchas
Any
gracias.
questions?
Board, any questions or comments?
I'll just comment that incredibly thorough job, and I've been so impressed at the progress that the DLAC has made over the past couple of years, and I know that we will take everything that you've said and that your committee has put together and take it very seriously in trying to improve the education for our English learners, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And I will just say that I'm glad that Dr. Cash, you've had the chance to follow up. I'm hoping that we can follow up on the schools that don't have functioning executive ELAC committees. I think that that would be important. And I appreciate all the suggestions. Actually, they were very thorough, good suggestions. And I like the idea of considering ways to combine the ELAC and PTA, PTO meetings at some point to make sure that the information is the same information and that there's opportunity for the parents and the students and the staff to interact as well. So, muchísimas gracias por todo el trabajo. A todos ustedes que están en el comité, les agradecemos todo lo que hacen por los estudiantes y por nuestras escuelas cada día. Gracias. So with...
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say, I think this report was really thorough, gave us tremendous recommendations, and I think it could be used as a model for how advisory committees should and could report to the district. I think the recommendations that we got are so outstanding that they really almost provide us with a strategic plan for how to proceed. So gracias a usted y la comité, and I just think we really should follow up on this.
Thank you. We will now move to item F3 F2 on the agenda, the annual report by the Citizens Parcel Tax Oversight Committee on Measure H 2008. And I see that Ms. Neems, will you like to
I would like to introduce
Introduce-
Karen Kearns. Good evening, members of the board. Karen Kearns is our chair for Measure H, and she's here to present the 2010-11 annual report for the Citizens Parcel Tax Oversight Committee. Okay. Thank you. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Karen Kearns, and I'm the current chair of the Measure H Parcel Tax Citizens Oversight Committee. And this report that I'm giving tonight covers fiscal year 2010-11. And this report is required by the bylaws that are in the resolution that you all passed in order to put the parcel tax on the ballot. So, as you know, that Measure H was passed in 2008 as a 4-year parcel tax to supplement real specific programs in the Santa Barbara secondary schools. Senior citizens could apply for an exemption from paying the tax, and there are over 48,000 parcels that are subject to the tax. The current $23 parcel tax supported math, science, technology, music, arts, theater, and foreign language in the 7th and 8th grade. And in the high school, it supplements math, science, technology, foreign language, and it also restored the 9th grade class size. The goal for the 9th grade class size was to have 20-to-1 ratios in Algebra 1 and geometry. This report, for fiscal year 2010-11 is presented by the current committee, which just as a matter of note is not exactly the same as the committee that was during the 2010-11 fiscal year. And the current committee members are listed here for your information, and several which I think are in our audience. The resolution and the bylaws spell out exactly what the committee is required to report on and is outlined on this slide. And during the 2010-11 fiscal year, the Measure H Parcel Tax Committee met 3 times, And more importantly, they conducted site visits with members going to each junior and senior high school and reporting back to the current committee. So there's been some overlap. The parcel tax revenues were spent on equipment, materials, salaries, and operating expenditures, which were all allowed under the parcel tax language. The expanded teaching positions funded included foreign language, arts, music, theater, and teachers for the purpose of restoring the 9th grade class size reduction. Along with this slide in your board materials, you have a handout that gives detailed information and the numbers that are behind these numbers. Okay. This chart covers the 3-year revenue comparison from the $23 parcel tax in both units and dollars. And we thought it was interesting to compare it both ways and to also show that the senior exemptions, they spiked in the 2010-11 year and then they went back down the next year. So it just shows that there was less money available because of the number of senior exemptions. However, that still left $1,114,097, which represented 48,439 parcels, just for the secondary district. And again, you have a handout that relates to this slide 6. This slide actually, it shows the how close the sites came in meeting their actual versus their budgeted numbers for the funds that they spent. And you can see that the majority of the funds that fiscal year 10-11 went to certified salaries and benefits. And it's explained on the handout, but primarily that was the foreign language and the 9th grade math. This chart, this is really the heart of the programs that were funded by the parcel tax. And it shows what programs were supplemented and how much was spent in each program area. The largest piece of the pie did go, the red one on the lower right, went to junior high music, arts, and theater. And again, it was primarily salaries, but it's broken down by site. And just for your information and recollection, the sites get their allocation based on their ADA. Okay, so we took those same numbers and now we put it by site and how much each of the sites got based on their ADA. And we really felt that you can see there were a wide variety of expenditures that get covered on the various slides, and then this shows how much was covered at each site. As back on slide 5, we showed there was carryover and unused funds from 10-11 that were then moved into 11-12, and that all the funds continue to have a 3% reserve, which is appropriate for the district. The site visits were conducted and reported on as shown on this slide of who went to what site, and the current committee that received those reports felt like the site visits sort of personalized how the money was spent and gave us confidence that people at every level were paying attention to this, the impact of this additional fund. And we believed that the site visits were an important part of the overall evaluation process. So based on the information provided by the district and the language of the Measure H resolution and the site visits, the current committee that's reviewed the 2010-11 expenditures believes that the money was properly spent within the language of the resolution. So the $1,114,097 is our recommendation to the board to acknowledge that they were properly spent. And slides 5 through 10 all have handouts in your board material so you can have additional information. And then there was 2 additional handouts I believe were provided to you. One is a list of specific expenditures per site, which is, it was too cluttered to put it on a slide, but that's really interesting and I hope you take time to read it because it shows the variety of the way the different sites used the money specific to what their needs were. It wasn't a one-size-fits-all, and I think that's an important thing that the committee recognized. And then there's another paper that's got some quotes from various principals saying how much they love the parcel tax. So the committee would like to thank Julie for putting together the financial part of the information on the slides, and we'd like to thank the district for giving us this opportunity to make the report. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
And hopefully, if there are, Julie can answer them.
Any questions or comments? Ms. Parker?
Thank you so much, Ms. Kearns, and your entire committee. Actually, it's nice to see some of the faces in the audience. I've met some of you before, some I haven't, and it just, you know, before you were an application, and so it's great to see you in person.
Thank you.
And I think that the work you do, all of the committee members, has been great. I'm so thrilled that you went on site visits to really see firsthand how the money is being spent. I actually wish that we'd seen this presentation before our vote on the renewal, because it really just reemphasizes all the good work that it's providing for our students, all the great programs that are coming in. I do have one question that maybe Ms. Nemes can answer, and that is on the distribution of the funds by ADA. We've had some pretty dramatic shifts, and this would is a question both for elementary and secondary. Pretty dramatic shifts over time in some of the school populations. Is the ADA piece reevaluated annually?
It is. It's based on the slide back up. Oh, I think we're okay. It's based on the most recent ADA information we have. It's from P2, the prior year's P2 data. So every year I pull the P2 ADA and use that to determine the site allocations.
Any other questions or comments? All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen, very much.
And now I think we're going to move on to Measure I report.
Good evening.
Ms. Tafoya.
I'm Elvira Tafoya. I'm a member of the Measure H. And you're going to help me with? Yeah. My report is very similar to Measure I. And this is always the same as you had in Measure I, except that we have math, science, technology, education, and then the classroom music programs. And this, again, was established to ensure proceeds used only for purposes set forth in Measure I. And they provide advice, oversight, and accountability to the board. And we have the 6 members, I myself included there. We had 3 individual meetings and 1 joint meeting with Measure H. The committee met 3 times in the fiscal year 2011-2012, and the bylaws require annual report to the Board of Trustees. And you have the reporting on fiscal year, and the report required on amounts of funds collected and expended from the parcel tax, and the status of any projects or programs required or authorized from the parcel tax, and whether parcel tax expenditures proper per Measure I. The 2010-2011 budget versus unaudited actuals. The revenue spent on salaries and benefits, books and supplies, and operating expenditures. The unused allocation of $13,000 carried forward, and we have a surplus of $70,000 allocated for 2011-2012, less a 2% reserve. It funded teaching positions and equipment. It expanded classroom music programs. It provided for math, science, technology equipment in classrooms. And again, this graph is very much similar to what you saw before, except that we have less money than the high school. It still functions well. It still functions well, though. As you can see, the senior exemptions, and then we have an increase of $615,000 for the 2010-2011 year. And this is unaudited actuals. Again, the budget. As you can see in the pie, we have certificated salaries. This is the biggest part of our budget. I believe 5 music teachers were hired with that amount of money. And we have unaudited actuals right now, again, $289,000. The 2010-11 expenditures, again, as you see the pie, the math, science, and technology has the biggest part there. And the music instruction is the best one there. And here is the allocation per schools, as you can see. Juliet, I asked her why did we have 18,960 here, open alternative, and it is because I think it was the charter schools have not used their allocated money yet, and that's why it's bigger than the rest of it. Okay. And how are students benefiting from the parcel tax funds? Adams, we had the principals from all the elementary schools came to our meetings, and they gave us a presentation of how the monies have been allocated. Adams, they had document cameras, laptops, projectors, and printers. Cleveland, the Standards Plus program materials, which is mainly math. And Harding, you had laptops, monitors, software, and video conferencing. Roosevelt, we had laptops, netbooks, document cameras. And Franklin, they had tablets, interactive notebooks, and software. In conclusion, we have a summary of the oversight process, and the funds are properly expended for the fiscal year 2010-2011 per parcel tax resolutions. And that is our presentation.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tafoya. Board, any questions or comments? Mr. Herron?
Just thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Cordero?
I just think that it's worth noting that from these presentations that both committees indicated that the funds are not only being used properly, which is one of the things we had assured the public. I'm sorry, I have a cough drop to keep from coughing. We had assured the public that we would monitor, but also that they are being used to really benefit our students at the schools across the district. So I appreciate the reports from both committees and your careful monitoring that ensures the effectiveness of those funds. So thank you very much for the service to all of our students.
Thank you.
I'm hopeful that they'll continue to do the school site visits, because I heard from both groups that was very powerful to hear from the principals and to be in the classrooms. So I think I'm hopeful that continues. That's a great way to report.
And I want to note that these are community volunteers who
Yes.
are committed to making sure that public funds are used in the most efficient and productive way. So thank you so much for the time that you've dedicated to visit the campuses, to be part of this committee. And I want the community to know that we have folks who are very dedicated that will work with the district to ensure our public funds are used well. So thank you. We now go to item G, which is return to consent items, and we have none. So we get to go to coming events. Any coming events?
I have none to report other than what I reported earlier regarding the open houses and the Los Lonely Boys.
All right. Board, any coming events that we should know about? All right. Future agenda items. Any future agenda items that we'd like to see? Okay.
It might be good to see the list that already exists sometime.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's not that we don't have items. It's that we know we already have a long list, and so we're not adding to it.
All right. So with that, we will adjourn the meeting.